The legal basis of the so-called alternative arrangements for the Irish Brexit backstop. Could it be because any so-called alternative arrangements are bound to be superficial? That's what Sinn Féin MP Mickey Brady appeared to tell us last week.
The withdrawal agreement is there. It's been agreed. That's it. The backstop is there. It's been agreed. That's it.
But the formerly Protestant paramilitary-linked DUP, which props up Theresa May's minority government, has backed a potential alternative, saying it could offer a route towards negotiating a future trade relationship with the EU. Joining me now is DUP MP Ian Paisley Jr., whose father founded the party. Ian, welcome to Going Underground. So what is the Brexit alternative arrangement?
Well, it's really up to the British Prime Minister to go to Europe and to negotiate what she's been instructed to negotiate by the House of Commons. Remember, the vast majority of MPs have now passed a resolution of the House saying that we want to have a withdrawal agreement, but we want to make sure that there is no backstop in it that would hinder any part, especially Northern Ireland, being treated differently as we leave the European community.
But the House of Commons said definitely no deal is off the table, and the House of Commons, in a non-binding vote...
They didn't really say that.
In a non-binding vote,
they did
vote by majority, and they also voted to say her deal cannot be renegotiated.
Well, let's be clear about it. Every sane person wants to make sure that we leave Europe on the best possible terms. We want to have a very positive relationship with the European community after we've exited, as the will of the British people have asked us to exit, and we want to make sure that that relationship is a two-way relationship. So the only people who are talking about doom and disaster are those people who are trying to frustrate the negotiations. So those people who really aren't interested in the best interests of the United Kingdom. Brexiteers like me, want to make sure that we leave the EU in the best possible terms, that we get a good deal, that we continue to trade with the EU in good, positive terms that are beneficial for the EU partners, as they are for us as a state and as a nation, and with the rest of the world. So, you know, this should not be a negative thing. This should be regarded as a positive thing. But to get that, we've got to make sure that we have a withdrawal agreement that works. And having a withdrawal agreement that would tie one part of the United Kingdom into the EU differently and forever would be entirely abusive of us as a people, and would go against the will of the 17.4 million people who asked us to leave.
Well, I think the majority in the House of Commons supports you on that. But what sort of Prime Minister, she's with Jean-Claude Juncker today, would have thought of legally binding a possible eternal no border with the Republic of Ireland?
Well, the current withdrawal agreement, which has been rejected, had that clause in it in the Northern Ireland Protocol. It was rejected overwhelmingly by both Labour and Conservatives and ourselves.
Only
and
because
others.
she was forced to reveal it. I didn't hear the DUP forcing her to reveal it. It was people, it was Gina Miller and all these sides.
No, the withdrawal agreement was very clear. It was in the Northern Ireland Protocol. And look, our party's been involved in negotiations for quite a long time. We read the small print. And the small print, long before the document was clear, was indicating where this was going. And we were warning, all of the warnings from December 2017, from us both publicly and privately, make it abundantly clear that Northern Ireland could not be treated differently, and more importantly, that we could not be bound into something that would treat us as a place apart. Northern Ireland does not do well when it's treated as a place apart. It's got to be part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, trading on the same terms, cooperating and working on the same terms. We're arguing for and campaigning for and pushing the Prime Minister to achieve a change to the legal text that would allow us, therefore, to have an agreement that Parliament
which the European Union has already overruled. I mean,
but hang on, there's two sides in agreement. You don't have an agreement if one side says there's an agreement. You only have an agreement if both sides agree.
Okay, but the fact that she could countenance a secret agreement, it was secret before she was forced to reveal the...
No, I'm not going to go down that road with you, because it's not fair. First of all, it's not fair on the Prime Minister. It wasn't secret.
But she was forced to reveal the legal...
It was revealed in the House of Commons. It was revealed to us. We explained, us, the British public, and we explained from day one, whenever it was published, this is actually not going to work. And it's clear it's not going to work. Now let's look forward. What can we achieve? We've got unity in Parliament that we want to get a deal that works. We've got unity that we do not want to have a backstop that would prohibit or tie Northern Ireland in a different way to the rest of the United Kingdom. We're clear that we don't want to have differences in terms of a hard border. This is now about getting onto the trade deal and negotiating a trade deal that works for all of Europe. And really this whole negotiation, frankly, for the last 2 years has been wrong-headed, because it's been pointed at a political arrangement to suit domestic Irish politics, as opposed to looking at the greater good of a negotiation on trade that would suit everyone in Europe. And I think sooner or later, the Germans and the French and other member states will say to the Irish, you've had a good enough run at messing about with your domestic politics. This is now frustrating us getting a deal with the United Kingdom. Move aside and let's get that deal.
Well, I'll get more into Dublin in a second, but I suppose what I'm getting at is the fact she could countenance that, and she gave you the North £1 billion, maybe £1 billion of infrastructural investment. We're hearing that not all of that money is helping your constituents and the local communities of Northern Ireland. What is the DUP getting out of propping up Theresa May's premiership?
Well, the one thing that we wanted to achieve whenever we became, I suppose, holders of the balance of power at the last general election was to have stability for our nation and to achieve Brexit. We're a few days away from achieving Brexit. I think we will achieve that. But in terms of getting stability, that obviously is a very, very difficult thing. Could you imagine if we had put a Labour Party into power? The instability, I mean, people are jumping over ship in their own party at the moment because of all sorts of allegations internally. At the end of the day, we've tried to get a stable government for the whole of the people of the United Kingdom because we are unionists. We believe in the benefits of every constituent part of the United Kingdom.
And you already said you think that Dublin won't make the running for much longer. You really think Berlin and Paris are going to tell Dublin enough?
Looking at what's been happening with the way the Japanese have acted and where other investors have said, look, Europe is not the place to invest. We're pulling plants out of all over Europe. They're even pulling them out of non-European countries like Turkey, and they're moving their plants back to the east and the Far East. I'd say a lot of industrialists in the middle of Europe are saying, listen, we need a trade deal with the fifth largest trading partner in the world, the fifth largest economy in the world. We need to get that sooner rather than later. Where is our trade deal? And they're looking at this Brexit arrangement and saying, well, the only thing we seem to have an argument about is a small, tiny partner, the Irish, are pushing Europe on a political point-scoring exercise. That's what this backstop has been about. That's what the Irish agenda has been about. Mr Varadkar, and I understand his passionate, but Mr Varadkar has to see off the far right of Sinn Féin, and to do that, he has to appeal on the Irish question, as we call it, the border question.
Well, let's get straight to the Irish question. The Irish Times had a poll a few weeks ago. 60% think a united Ireland is more likely post-Brexit. Is in effect the DUP's policy of supporting Brexit, quite apart from the economic aims and rights and wrongs of it, it's going to make a united Ireland more probable?
Nonsense. I mean, this reminds me of a few years ago whenever we were going through the millennium bug. The whole world was going to come to an end. There was going to be vast crises. There were special television reports, special polls being done. Not one of them came true. And I don't believe that poll in the Irish Times will come true. The vast majority of people in Northern Ireland, whether they are Roman Catholic or Protestant, nationalist or unionist or dissenter, want to see Northern Ireland as a stable, good place. They have a very much a centric Northern Irish identity, and they know that the best way for their country to flourish is to stay part of the fifth largest economy in the world.
But you mentioned millennium bug. That's what Boris Johnson said about the problems people are conceiving of. Michael Gove said the peace process was capitulation to the IRA, Nazi appeasement, he compared it. Jacob Rees-Mogg said post-Brexit border inspections may be the way forward. Karen Bradley didn't appear to understand there was some voting done on sectarian lines in Ulster. And Priti Patel said threaten area with food shortages. What do you think of your Conservative partners in the House of Commons' understanding of Ulster?
Well, I think a lot of them are really perplexed whenever they see that the Republic of Ireland has benefited greatly from being a good neighbour of the United Kingdom. And yet when it comes to it, they've been a very bad neighbour in this Brexit negotiation. They have given them huge subvention, essentially a multi-billion-pound tax-free loan. They have shown that as good neighbours we allow them to fish in our waters. We're not allowed to fish in their waters. They stop our milk from going over their border, and yet we have to take their milk in our country. And here we have an opportunity to go out as a nation and to trade and create more wealth for our own people, and the Irish are trying to stop it.
OK, well, just finding the Irish Army have been mapping out crossing points along the 310-mile border, 100 more than expected, apparently, checkpoints. We had the former intel boss of the IRA on the show. He told us checkpoints will be shot at. In a no-deal Brexit, whether it's the Europeans or the British government that build the wall, do you foresee checkpoints being shot at?
Well, who's going to put these checkpoints up? The British government.
It could be the Europeans.
The British government say they're not going to put them up. The Irish government say, and they don't actually have a big enough army to police their border, so
as I say, the army
they're not going to put it up. They're a non-armed army as well. And they say, well, we're going to have NATO helmets come in and police the border. That's not going to happen. We're a member of NATO. So who's this imaginary force that's going to come in? The EU doesn't have the authority or the power to come in and do it. And people need to dial down the rhetoric and recognise this is about an economic opportunity for the United Kingdom. And whenever we flourish as a nation, our neighbours will flourish. Our Southern Irish neighbours will flourish, and we believe that the European Union will also flourish with us. Let us get on with Brexit.
Ian Paisley Jr., thank you. That's it for the show. We'll be back on Saturday on the eve of those apparently highly compromised Hollywood Awards, the Oscars. Until then, keep in touch via social media. See you on Saturday.